When it comes to the Carnegie Mellon drama and UW dialectical talking box routines, there's always a lot of stuff. Anna Politkovskaya was reported to not want to discuss the possibility of her being shot for fear that it would cross a superstitious line and happen. Well, it happened. It's not because she talked about it. But people like that sort of thing, some of them. And to me, it's not so much a superstitious line about it happens, it's more dignifying it. You know, I, for one, am glad that they caught or may have caught the person who shot Tupac. He seemed like a pretty good bum. But I mean, I talked about the circumstances and some radical turned on somebody who was completely innocent. They see poetry. Zappa thinks it's poetic. They go connecting dots with mayhem. It's called domestic terror. I'm not into it. The people, I want to try to do a good job with this. I don't want to get into the gizmology. See, I have no doubt that there's a super narrative that the giants of the open mic bully crowd, Spike Oldley, yes, Spike Oldley, want adopted and put into the projection booth. About Reagan didn't know and John Lennon could have saved him. This stuff that underwrites a Japanese violent corporation of pedophiles who invaded a Pittsburgh public school and their supporters among Trumpy Tune who raped a retarded deaf girl who has epilepsy. See, you have to have a certain sense of balance. When I went through from the neuroplasm absolute agony in the physical violence it was doing to me. Forgiveness played no role in making me survive. Understanding nonviolence helped a lot. Meditating, I got a large print copy of Strength to Love and read it in Iowa. Neurocompulsion is deadly. You have to wonder if they're not trying to neurocompulsion and then prick the reflexes. Put in neurocompulsion pharmaceuticals and then prick the reflexes to get the thing going because they don't like a peaceful America. And the spinner beanies are all, oh, we can do that, we'll be smart, smart, smart. UW Dialectical will shine on our ancestors. It's really much simpler than that. We're talking about protecting public schools by ordinary conduct. You get this person from Starkey, in Maui, who looks like Jeannie, the tulip girl with the COVID. That's just the sort of thing that Ringo Starkey does. He's one of the maniacs working with Fauci who wants to pluck to get the big projector to play. I'm not into it. Sure, I want to be paid for my work. I'm not inviting a backstab by saying I want to be paid for my work. No. The deranged people made that up. What was my work? Did I insist on being paid before I did my work? No. Why wouldn't I? Why do you expect to be paid when you don't? How can you expect to be paid when you don't insist on being paid before you do your work? Is it that nobody wants the work done? The reason I didn't insist on being paid for my work before it was done was because I was trying to communicate to my Commonwealth the serious peril that their negligence was putting all of us in. They say, I want to disconnect from the we Commonwealth. They're psychotic. All of us were in danger from the negligence that led to COVID. There are people who wanted that to happen. I'm not one of them. It is deranged to have wanted that to happen. Deranged. People need to stand up for the things they know they don't know. My grandfather used to say I had all the answers when I was young, but when I got older, I was grateful to have some of the right questions. People have to have the courage to admit what they don't know. People don't know about the Sustainable Development Goals and how to institute eco schools and reform of our fossil fuel industries. They don't have the courage to admit it. So they say we're too brave to admit it, because that's how they shut down self-recognition and self-review. It works like this. I lack the courage to admit that I don't know what is necessary to know to stop fossil fuels and serve the sustainable goals. Adventure. And it takes the form, instead of saying that, of saying, I'm mighty brave and I'm not even going to facilitate anything that causes me to be forced to recognize my denial mechanisms. See, Peterson says he's a clinical psychologist, that Jordan dude. But he has a denial mechanism, that is very active and engaged. He doesn't see the adventure of Sustainable Development Goals. He makes up a counter story. You see, I'll explain. The people on the front line of climate change are not engaged in any kind of adventure. They're engaged in fighting for their lives and losing. Did you hear about what happened in Libya? It's not about adventure for them. You see? And Jordan the Brilliant, if I'm going to talk about him, I better have my spinner beanie on. Let's get that spinner beanie going. Jordan the Brilliant says they want to cheat the poor with net zero. Cheat them of what? Peterson. Cheat them of your idea of an adventure, a climate change adventure, flame over Africa adventure. Is that it? Grounded in traditions. Neat. And he's aware that our society has these operational mechanisms that are just crazed with domestic terror. He's going to cry himself over the man who was killed at the little store that he watched for 50 years. It's like the woman in the store on Main Street or whatever, shop on Main Street. She dies by accident because she's a Jew. I mean, he died completely by accident because somebody put freak out dots together for Moon Unit Zappa. Now, Jeannie Tamburo was deaf and she had epilepsy. She wasn't a crystalline robot from the Obama installation squad to be used as a thing for Moon Unit's honky tonk. She was a Pittsburgh Goodwill worker. I was a Pittsburgh public school student, not a Two Virgins Pussy Ball star. Mackenzie Shirilla was an Ohio public school student, not a neurological experiment for hot-wiring specialists from Mackenzie and the Federal Emergency Management Agency to make into a statement from Roger Waters about Princess Diana. Now, I said I wanted to do a good job with this, okay? I have represented the public school interest. Pittsburgh Public School will come and say it's a provincial norm for white sex to be kidnapped and tortured. Okay, I can't relate.